Okay, so right now I am the lecturer, what in England is the equivalent of assistant professor on molecular genetics and genomics of Staffordshire University. I am an adjunct lecturer of the International Space University too, where I teach space omics right now. And I'm also a co-head of the topical team on space omics that is funded by the European Space Agency here in Europe. So this is more or less what I'm doing now. I've been working, this is part of why I'm here today, with space biology for some years, like 5 or 6 years at this point. And I had the honor to be the first author on the cell paper that put mitochondrial dysfunction in the center of thanks for that of the biological effect that happened in space. So this was like a wonderful experience for me, and this is partially of why I'm here today. Okay, so if I'm not wrong, I entered in January 2017. So it's been 6 years at this point. Yeah, no, it's been a while. And it was quite a surprise. It was quite a surprise. As I told Cynthia, sorry, I was in South Carolina, I'm USC, and at one point my boss knocked at my door and said, "Oh, NASA is trying to find some projects in the state. Would you be interested?" Yes. So we ended up being approved. We ended up having this grant, was quite nice. But what happened with that is that because of this grant, we ended up entering some email lists and receiving some email about NASA projects. And I remember one day was checking this email list and I found one thing that GeneLab was recruiting. Like GeneLab? Like NASA have like something to do with biology? Because in my head, NASA was just like rockets and satellites. So, okay, so since they do biology, so I tried to convince my boss to join. He didn't need much convincing. So we ended up trying, and we wanted to enter on the animal and the multiomics. We ended up entering the animal the first and the multiomics just a little later. And initially, I didn't have much, idea of what was going to be. But what was becoming, and more or less what it is today, is a good platform for meeting people. People who dare, people who expose their ideas. They find people to work with. And what I really enjoy of this is just because it started as a small group. When we start in 2017, there's not that much people, and now like there are literally hundreds of people in the groups. But still, you go to there as a platform. You go and see what's happening. For example, some random things that happened, and I have to answer an email right now. So yesterday we had the multiomics meeting, and there was a new guy from Bordeaux. And then, he's Bordeaux, I'm in the UK, so okay, let's just put the community together. In 2 days, he invited me to help him to organize a event in Antwerp, Belgium. Okay, why not? Let's see how it goes. I never got to Belgium. And this happened because I was in the meeting, I was just there, like there was a new guy, like, oh, my name is Willian, like, you know, I'm closed. And then we have a lot of things together. Okay, let's talk about this possibility. So it's a good platform for meeting people and also having contact with new ideas and to show your idea. And what I like about that is that I never passed one situation in GenLab that was disrespectful. I was really afraid of that in the beginning when I showed my idea, because I was thinking, no, why people are going to hear me? Why they are going to listen to me to begin with? But they did, and they give me good feedback on that. And I see people doing that with everyone else. Even if it's like students, there's not all doctors, they're not all postdocs, they're not all professors. Even yesterday were some like new undergrad students. And I would like to work with that and that. Yeah, no, we do this, and if you have the time, it would be a pleasure to join with names. But everyone was every so nice. It does not mean that they're not strict when they need to be strict. No, this cannot be this cannot happen. Oh, this no, that's too much. It's really well organized, but there's this a friendly face to it that I quite enjoy. First, as I said, GenLab was essential, was really, really, really important for what I have now, what I as a, in my professional, in my career. Ended up that it started as a side project when I did after hours in the weekends. This is how this worked for me. This is something that I talked with my boss. He saw I was quite enthusiastic of what he's doing, and we had an agreement that you do whatever you want to do as long as you finish your things on time. But how time start to go, this moved it to the center of my career, something that I never planned, but it was working, so let's do. And then finally we published it on the with a good, I was part of it. I was again honored to be first between equals. We have some first co-authors there, but when we published it on the cover of Cell to commemorate the 20 years of science on the International Space Station. I don't have a clue how I managed to be there. I would be happy to just to be there. And I was there like the first name in the paper was a quite important thing in biology, and if it should be important or not, that's another discussion. And I was living the dream. A dream I was not even aware I I I could dream it. Like it was not the thing I thought it could be. And there was and I was there. And after that, a lot of other things happened. I started in the beginning of my postdoc, and after the publication, I got my first lecture position. I became an assistant professor. I'm quite sure that the paper was essential for that too. I started my relationship with the International Space Agency to teach space omics, where I do use GenLab data, and I'm now a adjunct professor there. I was teaching in Portugal this year, and this year they're going to have an event in Brazil for all places, and I'm going to there to teach. So it's like, look at the kinds of things that happen with my life now. That only became accessible to me and became possible to me because one day I received an email. I thought, you know what, GenLab, let's answer it. So first, we're part of the community. What's quite nice. We were if you were a part of community, what's quite important for science. Uh, I said about being open to ideas, to open to new people. What's quite nice, and have your ideas bounced back to you and see how it goes. How people listen and they ask you, okay, this thing's interesting, or okay, this not seems to be the case. And if it's not the case, they explain to you why. What's quite important too, and it's quite difficult to say, because again, it's give me my opportunity to be in contact with a lot of people I would not have, like opportunity to drink, but was not possible. I never worked of anything so close to science fiction than working with AWG. I got to a conference once, and the guy was presenting about the new concepts on starships. And then I don't remember what question I made, but I probably did a question. And then in the coffee break, I was ended up close to him, and he was asking my opinion about starships. I'm a pharmacist. First, do. Second, be patient. Because you are not going to enter there and a big project will land in your lap and things going to happen. I don't even know how this happened with me. But one thing I say to people, to some students, and I was This semester, I was only able to be part of one meeting if I was made part of my teachings. So I made like, oh, this week we're going to have an hour the opportunity to be part of another meeting. Look at that. And then we discussed about the process of doing science. And I was telling my students, never, never forget about the powers or being present in a meeting. But sometimes you have 2 minutes in a meeting that make for 5 meetings you were there because nothing's happening, then something is excused and oh, I actually know about it, and someone's there and you make contacts or you're able to contribute in some way that helps you in the future. So go see how it goes, see what's happening. People are going to appear, people are going to present, and you're going to see how you can contribute or things that are interesting for you. And then when you find your time, then you go. It's quite clear right now that we are on the edge of big things. The International Space Station is the chapter of the International Space Station is kind of ending. We still have it there, it's wonderful. But the new chapter is going to be, we're going to have the gateway on the moon. We're talking about possible labs in the moon itself. We're going to have much more access to space than we had before. The quantity of data about space are about to explode. It's really like it's being exponential now. And then the possibility of combining this data in any way that makes sense and is useful, again, is going to explode. And we don't know. We don't have a clue. But people who have a background maybe in engineering or maybe in computing or maybe in statistics, they're not exactly biologists, are going to try to treat biological data as mathematics and find something that makes sense or maybe it does not. And with biologists helping it, is the probability of making sense is even better. So what I do think is that I don't think GeneLab are going to run out of data. I think it's the other way around. And giving the opportunity to everyone in the world to be a space biologist is strong. It's quite strong. What I did in the US when I started could only be done on the US. But now it's not, because NASA is having this leadership on making not accessible only to the country itself, but to the whole world. Of course, there are a lot of reasons for that. It's important for NASA to stay relevant, even now that it's more competition. So no, this is going to happen. I don't see NASA losing leadership on space race in the near future. But this also contributes to space biology as a field. It's not more that a small niche that only chosen ones could be part of. Now everyone could be part of the party. Everyone has a ticket. What you're going to do in the party, that's up to you. But now you can be there at least. And with these new things, new ways, people to be able to figure out a way to make this a specific characteristics from space, more radiation, microgravity, different magnetical fields, and so on, to combine in a way that you're going to create new knowledge, new products, new whatever. I don't even have a way to try to predict that. This is going to be big. This is already big. It's going to be enormous. It's not going to be less for me because there's more for you. There's for everyone.
Yeah.
When I entered the AWG, I was quite happy again just to be part. And now I'm in the part of my career when I start teaching. I'm teaching much more than I was in the beginning. And I'm using AWG data literally all around the world. I was teaching students on Sri Lanka, on Nigeria, on Germany and Portugal too, but talks on Taiwan and Vietnam and again, Nigeria, also Europe, and also United States, and a little of Brazil, that was not going to be possible if this data was not there. Maybe I would use cancer data, but it's not so. You know, if you talk about space, it's all high feelings. There's whereas cancer is quite interesting, but then there's a disease. So you can work more with things that look like what we could do. How can we work with space, the final frontier. And I think is that, is don't use it only as a tool for discovery, but as a tool for teaching. And as I said to people, oh, you think this is boring? NASA think this is not boring. So who are you? Who are you to dispute that? And then normally some of them will laugh, some of them will not, but at least okay. If NASA thing is important, I don't have to fight too much to show it's important for them. So it's helped me a lot of the teaching too, and I'm using a lot here Staffordshire University with the students with other things. So it's been quite nice.